trying to. We can find the source. Thanks, Tom. Anyway, we're starting late, and we always try to promise to get you out here by 8, and we're still going to try. Hello? You hear that? Okay. Again, I'm just so happy to see all of you here come out and listen to our artist in residence and our good friend, pay tribute and appreciate Bill Turley. He's the star of the show tonight. We were trying to do a little calculating as to how long we've known Bill, Tom and I, and it goes back so far I can't count that far back. Dennis said he met Bill when he first moved to Tulsa in 1992, so that's been a stretch. You've probably known him longer than that. So I think I know about everybody here. If not, my name is Mike. The gentleman to my right here is Dr. Robert Tom Shawnee, better known as Tom. He has the famous Celtic band, among other things, Finnegan's Awake. Tom and I have known Bill a really long time and appreciated his artistry. As a painter, and the colored illustrations in the book are Bill's. As a musician, and in some of his poetry you'll recognize he knows a little bit about music too. And as a poet. And as a longtime wannabe poet, I really appreciate his work, as I'm sure you do. We've just about sold out his books. I think there are 5 left. If we could do justice to his work in reading tonight, which I doubt, you'll probably want to pick up those last 5, any of you who don't have them. What else should I say? Please turn off your cell phones. And I think, particularly considering time and all, if you feel so inclined to applaud, please hold it, as well as your questions until we're finished. What else? Dennis, where's Dennis? Oh, come on up here, Dennis. Dennis McGilvray, you probably all know him, and he's becoming more famous because he now has a show on KWGS, NPR station, for world music. Is that what it's called? That's what you play?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we'll get Bill up here and we'll get started. Tom, would you speak? I'd asked Tom to say a few words about poetry. His doctorate's in English and philosophy. He knows a little bit about poetry. And I asked him just to say a word or two about it, although of course he could give a long lecture about it, I'm sure. So, Bill, as soon as you're settled here, Bill's going to lead us off. And what we're going to do is, every poem we will switch speakers so as to not bore you too much with one of us. Okay, Bill, first poem is called When Language Does Not Get Its Way. You got the microphone there?
Then, can you hear me? Yes. Welcome. When language does not get its way, when the earth gets too close to bear, then whatever age or generation is next emerges. A fledgling people plow up the earth around us. and they build the scaffolding up against our statues, great halls, the prayer to their gods, their secrets, and our illusions about power, all because something inside us that could not unravel or would not say, this is who we are. This is what we have become.
Okay, Dennis. Dennis, you want to use the mic?
Yes. Get this situated. There we go. It's really nice to be here reading Bill's poetry. I've read it for a long time. I moved to Tulsa in 1992. My wife is a native Tulsan, and one of the first things I did was join a poetry writing group at Mannion Park, and Bill was one of the members, and I've known him ever since, and we became members at All Souls also, so we crossed paths many places, so it's a real pleasure to be here. This is Letter to the Muse. After traveling this far away from home, I wonder if you treat all exiles the same. Do I strain so to make you understand that I lose myself before first stanzas? I am not on an equal basis with you. The voice that we made is still a stranger. I still take cues from old photographs, and I lose our beginnings and our equal footing. You lead me so close to the heart of things, the light is too bright. I realize that I am being led, regardless of my principles, and many of these poems are born trying to steal a dream from half sleep. Some remain in this room where I would like to sleep. There is always some beginning which lingers, even when the poem is spinning home.
I did want to say just a couple of things. I don't know if how acquainted you are with Bill's poetry, but it illustrates a couple of things. One is the poet Emily Dickinson said, "Tell the truth, but tell it slant." And there's a lot of that in Bill's poetry. Another is an American poet, Hart Crane, talked about the logic of metaphor, which is really how dreams and the imagination works. And when you read Bill's poetry, that's at work. So you jump from association to association in a delightful way. Okay. This is Stravinsky's Trash Can. It is raining like some mad scientist who harangues his latest cosmic goop. It is breathing, of course, most vapidly, and it immediately knows its pathway, happily void of whatever power plays the centuries have dreamed up. Well, flap. The alarm rings in the morning. Wait, I see something coming toward me. I think it is a tune from Stravinsky's Trash Can. It had all of those parallel seconds. They keep hitting their horns like they're stuck in traffic, while the entire academic universe runs a red light. Honk, honk, and what occurs then is a millennium of primal screams. I can only speculate that I was dreaming while securing a death grip on my cluster of distractions. I contemplate stealing one of Miles Davis' tunes and pass it off as the world's greatest ballad. Generations would be conceived while it was playing. Dance floors would rise and fall with heavy breathing. I would get emails requesting the first 16 chords. As a small boy, I thought jazz chords would save me. Little did I know it would lead to this Wagnerian standoff. This, of course, led to the pilfering of my lumber yard of Lincoln logs, where I was emulating Frank Lloyd Wright.
This is called, Did I Invite All These People? My mother cannot hear me, although she tries. She has a lot to do, like remembering where she lives. And did she invite all these people into her room? Or where her and Daddy's plane ticket is because they have to go home today. She no longer asks where Daddy is, although she probably remembers him. But something inside of her informs her that he is lost. At 16, he became her one great love, which carries her through until now at 94.
This is called A Letter to J. Alfred Prufrock, with the usual apologies to T.S. Eliot. I see you walking the beaches with trousers rolled, a sad, tragic figure you are, and I don't blame you one bit for your questions, for your lament. In fact, I admire you. There is something marvelous about your survival, your life measured out in cups of tea, your body stretched out on the floor and wrapped timidly around the century. I am mystified by your acceptance of darkness, the pathos of conversations, the thirst for understanding. But is this thirst, this hankering, which plucks you from obscurity and puts you on the white gurney of dogged acceptance, the most plausible modicum of truth? Are you the victim here, chased by the flashing tedium of the press, looking for the next cc of distraction? But maybe that's not what I meant at all. In spite of 2 world wars, you came through, hanging on all the white-knuckle nights, the punctual bombs, leaving desolate cities, the aftermath of the march to war. Where is your Guernica? Has it gone the same way as your outrage? Is the answer at the next tea or beer bust? After all, you never did claim a direction for your life, even though it was measured out in the tedium of your new century. The misconception of yours turns into days, into months and years. It is so persistent these days that it loses its vulgarity. It is like what we have just awakened from a dream of truly being in our lives as it happens, only to realize that we are sleeping. It is during this night, this soliloquy, that I call to you. I too have seen the empty streets filled with the buzz of days, the endless stream of lost connection, waiting for someone like Pollock or Miles to come in with their eloquence to say what was meant as I continue my walk on your broken streets.
You know how you get a new lease on life after cleaning your palate? When you're smoking through a painting, and the whatever that drives you to that delicious madness that is slipping out the back door, and you realize you will never remember the formula to that last splash of color that is on your brush, but you don't care. When you enter the room, I get the same feeling.
I think Mike mentioned the photos in the book are all of Bill's paintings. He had done a lot of painting over the years, and we are in the painting section of the poetry reading right now. He's got several poems about painting. This one is, "Where is the Soul of the Painter?" Then I hear Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, the gentle jagged chaos booming in kettle drums of deep azure and ultramarine. "Where is the soul of the painter?" asked the poet. Here in this stack of dusty visions, the soul of an oboe, the sounds, the sonorous call to spring. Starry night, and there is nothing on my palette. Lame brushes frozen in pastures of color wars. Glimpses are gone which carried me canvas to canvas, deep in blues, grays, and purples, casting this shadow dot dialogue of raw linen, masking the consciousness of tides and moon. Starry night, and there is nowhere to go. The stars splay out on this ice rink of brush strokes to release this pent-up dust settling on the wisdom of the blank canvas. Brush lines over charcoal ghosts, not sure, yet coaxed by the fleeting urge of my hand.
This is the answer to the question in that poem. The painter replies. First, there is the tooth of the canvas, half gesso's half raw linen, sighing for the brush. Then there is the line of burnt sienna, down from the blue hills, rooted in the earth, then percolating from the depth of oxide. The ironwood forest blooms amid unfinished landscapes, breathing life into unplanned forms, narration behind a sheen of purple, lapsing into dream. Dream time runs across the canvas tooth, connecting shapes and flashes of light. Just to be in these confines of longitude and latitude, breaking through choreographs of glazes, is all that I can ask. Where's the soul of the painter? Asked the poet. Here in the stack of dusty visions, the soul of an oboe sounds the sonorous call to spring.
Lots of references to music, and this poem is called French Horn on the Fire Escape, which I always like. Bill likes to sort of come from left field sometimes. It's a delightful experience. Subtitle is While Listening to the Andrew Hill Quintet. The French horn strays, then joins with upside down notes, the trumpet, a grain of felt under a flyaway third valve stem, and hard silver jumping reed pad, high in sax hole, down in 6 bars, out in 8, and 2, 3, and 4, vibraphone, open air over mallet, columns of air, bop we do, and in the curl of piano wire. Low brass pickup, 8 bars then out, the harmonic curve, warmed bell and thrashing ninths, then on in key and crying out, deep-throated tenors, minor, crying clear to an edge. Rip sheets of notes, blow man, go. Don't worry about some blasted trumpet. Then vibes spin their paddles again, way in, and no one is following, but everyone is there. And it's so outlandish. And right, left, shades of green cool and so horizontal sun-baked, a minor less than day, heat on the backs of hands, on keys and strings, stretched as far as shoulders and backs can go, as far back as Africa, where the sun sings muted felt dampened, black and white keys laid out, way out far in the way of music stands and creases in the sheets of reins, treble paddle tones baked in sun, 4/4 time, then a low French horn takes cue.
This is going up.
Learning how to fall. I lean right when I walk. In falling, I learned the language of my body to curl into itself and find a soft space to unravel in. Ambitions fall like rain, one at a time, from wreck and ruin. Lifeline formed from these fallings, and are strung together like cords and beads, ready to and ever to burst from their stand like God. I fall when the moment becomes too large and the cluster of synapses obscure the single voice. I learn to fall when nothing is leaning against me and the river can feel my weight, like all of us when we rise, still soaked to the bone.
I have to say something about the one Tom read. I had picked that one to read, and after trying it for a week, I kept stumbling. It was too difficult. So I asked him late this afternoon, would you trade with me? And I'm glad I did, because he read it very well. This one is called The Ever-Present Stranger. In the beginning, when this sleep of ours was stirring, when the tentacles of thought were reaching out to the undertow of rivers, words were stinging us with marvelous heat, like molten steel poured into skeletons of rivers where a landscape was cast. In the 60s, we took what we thought. Everything was ours for the taking. Treat your children well. Rucksacks were all we needed. Woodstock, folk tunes, Dylan. The thing to be was vagabond. Nobody home. Out to lunch. Nameless versions of boxcar heroes. It was the rhythm of an ocean, standing cross-current against the ever-present stranger within us.
Stonehenge franchise. We could get some real cheap property, bring in some salvaged flagstone. My uncle has a place by the lake. He'd let us use his truck, bring those babies in, dig a hole, set them up, and voila, Stonehenge, man. We'd be rolling in dough in less than a year. Advertise in The Nation, snag all them rich uppity liberals and them wannabe righties, crying out for a knockout pilgrimage to once and for all save themselves from religion's midway and three-ring circus, the $3 ring toss for a teddy bear Jesus or other fabulous prizes. We'd have a convenient drive-through window for those needing short-term cognitive therapy. All this for only $10 at the gate.
His next poem is called The Noble Savage Salutes Bob Dylan. And if you remember some of the early Dylan, some of his songs were pretty long. This is a longer poem, so you kind of settle into it. And I did want to mention something earlier, and that is what you see on this page is not a poem. It's instructions about how to read a poem, okay? It only becomes a poem when it is read out loud. So remember that if you take one of these books home, don't read them silently. Read them out loud. Sometimes the sound will make you laugh. Sometimes the ideas, but they work when they're aloud, okay? But settle in here. The Noble Savage salutes Bob Dylan. The Noble Savage is walking down 4th Street, going to a happening where they played all Bob Dylan, all hippies, ushered in for the moment, a complete fabrication of the scene, old men standing together, speaking Greek or Latin. Then the Noble Savage comes in, a throwback from those later Lawrence novels, where they run naked through the hinterland fields, making love to aristocratic women, actresses in the fall from grace. Quote, I saw the best minds of a generation destroyed by madness. Allen Ginsberg. The Noble Savage remains at the scene, eyeing those long-haired skinny chicks. They are tribal dancers hearing ancient drums as they whirl to Dylan-esque wails as each new dance becomes passé. The Noble Savage retreats from all of this once the cool has gone, once the money runs low. Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't feel so proud about having to scrounge for your next meal. How does it feel? The people on the streets are all poets. They live their poems as they forage for groceries, and they go to the whiz-bang happening where they enter a stage play, a poetry reading, where pages are burned as they are read. The crowd roars like Romans with their gladiators, and another poet thinking 15 minutes of fame is not enough hangs on a street lamp till dawn. Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't feel so proud about having to scrounge for your next meal. How does it feel? How does it feel to watch atoms explode into some magically mysterious conga line? Sometimes a wistful jazz poem escapes. The crowd is hushed. Now give me that line again. That no rock slow bop turning things upside down line. The Noble Savage is walking on the ceiling after that one, bumping into light fixtures, touching with the uptown skinny girl, here to defy her mom, missing her father. The dance is some exquisite moment. The Savage is free. The chick is free. All the lights are off except for the beating of hearts. Then there is this Wang Yankee scream, and we all get into what Kerouac was getting at between the lines. This no time like now American sludge with so much motion, you would have thought he could have pitched a perpetual groove, man, but no. And maybe the Noble Savage is sold down the river by now. Laos and Cambodia took what nobility he had, and people were just not hanging out anymore. Poets now live in letters home. I am in shock, but all right, sis. Where are my buddies? But dead in some field. We're moving ahead now, all that. Living hell we are supposed to leave behind is still there. And we struggle to hold fast to the illusion of a painless war and shield our broken families. How to mend the Noble Savage now when bullets become, oh, you masters of war, you who build the big bombs. And music down the street is silenced with headphones by some Main Street cool dude just trying to be.
This is song to my mistress Moon. There are no stars tonight. It is as if the moon in her crescent half dance had pulled in all of the dust of light to rest and spin her songs again. Touch me across these rivers, and now I have pulled my wings in. Teach me the songs of the moon so that I may be still and watch as she goes to rest and spin her songs again. In winter, the stars do not warm you. It slices a pathway as cold as steel on through to the rest of time. In the sheen of blue-black frost, I hear the darkness of moonsong, an oboe carved from ebony night.
This poem is a little longer too. It's divided into sections. It's called The Winter Farm. 1. My grandfather was a painter. On those winter mornings when the air is like the ringing of fine crystal, my grandfather appears on this side of the ice bridge. Fist of brushes, old bent wood easel chair, and like the first splash of red in the chalice, he maps the hills that know him like fathers, splaying out seeds of his beginning on canvas, remembering when he first came to the winter farm. 2, looking at his paintings. I remember watching him paint this, a line from a tube of white, bridging ridges on canvas, stroking spaces between barnwood, leaving the aged lean-to standing in a snowstorm. Snow gathers inside the house as it blows in through broken window glass. How long has this been abandoned? A line of burnt sienna breaks across the sky and is rooted in the earth. Tree limbs are matted against the roof. 3, capturing the winter of childhood. The snap of sunrise on a world of ice. A deer nuzzles branches encased. It is stranded on the frozen pond. Glaciers move below it. A branch has fallen on the ice, cracking the mirror. 4, going to the place of my birth. I cross the cattle guard gate and step into someone else's territory. I approach the deserted farmhouse as if waiting for a welcome home. Wind slaps leaves, shutters flapping, stirs dust to dance between shadows. And on the porch, wicker dreams creak, cane-backed rocker sways with me, holds me in dreams of summer corn. I return with my camera to Winter of the Heart. Clicks. The animal eye returns. Before my time, before my grandfather's time, before the hearth was waiting for the child to return. Now, with camera and lens, I feel the silence in this house. I am a refugee here like coyotes. Passing through these rooms, the ancient rituals of the pack, the first hunters. I have seen their eyes in campfires, which marked my coming to this land. 5, home. Is this what I have waited for to stalk this tribal knowing? Childhood dreams, finally standing outside next to the barn, making sandstone arrowheads. Dreams yet undiscovered. take me back to tribal drums and coyote songs which stir bones to dust and back to child again. On further to signs of beginning here. All of this is captured in lenses, rolls of sleeping images, cobwebs in the dry sink, ice moving on the river. Coyote moon takes me back to slow and dreamy times, to this place when land was sacred. Where does this river lead? What is the gravitation that draws the coyote through these river rooms? The hunger which calls to the wall of snowy cloud and whispers to the dark, I am coming home. I am coming home. 6, night enters day. Whisper to the dark when the earth is sleeping and dark moon has crossed the meridian. A stroke of birds sets out against morning. Soon the sun will address these farmhouse rooms. The scent of coyote remains, following primeval descent. As I am now, with camera and lens, click, swerve, the animal eye returns. 7, landscape after photographs. Sunlight is like new white paint before brush sweeps it up with the browns of day, and deep umber of dampened bark falls to rich moss